Well, hello, my friends. JW here, and finally, welcome to a brand new episode of Dunswell Zoo. No surprises as to what this episode is going to be, because it's probably in the thumbnail and the title. We're going to be building a snow leopard complex, so two habitats sort of joined together, one for a male, one for a female, and we're going to just go from there. So obviously, the last episode was, at the time of recording this, 3 weeks ago. It came out on YouTube. By the time you're watching this, it's probably a month, if not slightly longer. I don't have a lot of time to just sit and play Planet Zoo anymore, unfortunately. I don't have a lot of time to just sit and play any games anymore, actually. So you can see we've got our baby red panda, what's just decided to launch itself off that platform. Where was I? Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've done this. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of time to just play games in general anymore, let alone Planet Zoo. I've mentioned this in the sort of past episode, if not past two episodes. My job is like 100% computer based, so I spend my entire day staring at a computer screen. So the last thing I want to do is come home and stare at a computer screen. So I just don't have the time. I'm also dating as well, which is very, very interesting. It's teaching me a lot. I've been dating for like years, but this particular girl's different, and yeah, I'm really liking how things are going, and we're going all over the place. For those of you familiar with the UK, we've been to Lincoln and Doncaster and Sheffield and Hull, and we've got plans for a few other places. So yeah, we're really liking where things are going, and hopefully it will develop into a fully fledged relationship. Fingers crossed. The second thing is I'm also learning how to drive, so I don't have a lot of time because of that either. Learning to drive takes up a fair amount of time. You've got your theory lessons, or not so much lessons, but you've got your theory, what you need to study for, and you've got your practical lessons and things like that. It's quite time consuming, but it's a pretty fun experience, all things considered. But I am determined, rather, to continue Dunswell Zoo, just sort of as and when I can get in. Because I am a little bit strapped for time with this episode, we're going to do things a little bit differently. So rather than starting at the beginning and then just blitzing through everything with a speed build, I'm going to sort of explain what I'm doing, and it's going to be a little bit of speed build footage, then we're going to stop and look at the progress, and then we're going to carry on and do it a bit like that, I think. We've also got our Himalayan Monal just here. Here's the male. Beautiful feathers. And the female should be in here somewhere as well. They have had chicks. We might be able to get a glimpse of some chicks. About this one. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. There's another male. The males are very unsure. The females... Oh, there's a female just at the back. And I think that's a chick in the middle as well. Just here. And then we've got this nice little sort of red panda statue thing. There's some views of some different habitats that are going to be coming. But we've arrived at this episode. So if I just exit the explore mode. So this entire red rectangle, barring this little sort of corner, I'd sort of mapped out for the snow leopard complex. If we actually open the Zoopedia for snow leopards, so they need 705. So let's just go for 2. So they need 816, and they can have a maximum of 3. So they need 983. 983 meters squared. So this habitat here, I've sort of roughly laid out, is 1,544. So that's going to be more than enough for an entire family of snow leopards. But then when you're actually down in the guest view, this is really small for snow leopards. I think it is anyway. It's really small. So I'm going to just do one habitat. So each habitat is going to be like 1,544. So we're going to do 2 of them. And we're going to build it roughly back to back. So the guest path is going to come off, loop round and come back. And there'll be like the house in the middle. And then habitat either side. And then some planting and stuff like that. We might even actually change this path, because it's just very straight from this point onwards. So I might actually curve this path in here and back out. Himalayan brown bear has a fair amount of room sort of in here, and the Ussuri dhole again, fair amount of room, not a massive amount granted, but a fair amount. And then the Pallas's cat, I'm a bit on the fence about. It's still not been updated, that mod. I do like Pallas's cats, but I think, well, for now what we might do is just build it as the Ussuri dhole, and then if and when we eventually get Pallas's cats in and a recent version of Planet Zoo, then we can, you know, add that habitat in. So I think we'll definitely do that actually. So we'll get rid of the Pallas's cat habitat for now. And then we want to get this and just do this. And then we will get our sand tool. And we're just gonna paint this in, that this is gonna be for the Ussuri dhole. Let's do that. Which leaves this area nice and open for the Himalayan brown bear. So as for the sort of inspiration for this snow leopard complex, there are 3 collections in general. So there's Chester Zoo's brand new snow leopard habitat, which actually turned out more or less exactly how I was imagining this to look like, which is really, really convenient for me, because I've got some great source material to work off in that regard. Then there's Northumberland Zoo, which has some really nice sort of indoor snow leopard viewing in the sort of cave house thing that they've got there. And then there's another zoo, and the name currently escapes me at the moment. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so it's Northumberland Zoo for the sort of indoor viewing, Chester Zoo for the sort of general aesthetic and the landscaping and stuff like that. And then the other inspiration is Paradisa, the snow leopard habitat there. I really like that it's not sort of covered over on the top. It's really nice sort of fencing. It's nice and open. There's not actually like loads of rock in that habitat. There's plenty sort of grass and stuff like that. So those are sort of 3 main inspirations. So I think what we'll do is we'll start by getting rid of the first sort of red wall. Yeah. And then what we can do from here is build a fence. So I'll just see actually if we've got any from the blueprints what other creators have made. Just to sort of see if we can save ourselves some time. Indonesian mesh and glass fence. That fence isn't going to be high enough. Not that. Also not going to be high enough. Wooden fence. Metal fence. Oh no, that's nowhere near high enough, right? Got any like predator fence? Not looking like it, is it? What about if we go for barrier? No. Pred, here we go. Modular predator fencing. I don't know why it's off the axis so much, but there we go. Anything like this? This sort of stuff is similar to what I was imagining, but it's still not quite 100%. Nope, so we're going to build our own, which is absolutely fine. So what we're going to do is hit the speed build. So it's been a fair while for this episode actually. So yesterday I actually visited Chester Zoo and saw their snow leopards, which was really cool. They were both asleep, and I've seen their habitats, and I've definitely built mine too big. So I will be coming back at some point and adjusting the size of these habitats more than anything. But definitely the other one, the habitat was going to be on the right hand side. I will also be adjusting the landscaping of that habitat as well. Just because in the end I really wasn't happy with it. But this fence, we really wanted it to represent, or sort of emulate rather, Paradisa. Their snow leopard habitat has this sort of fence around it, and it's really cool, and I like that it's not this sort of netted enclosure, which you get to you do see a lot in zoos. Sorry if you can hear my cat's bell in the background. So yeah, I just wanted this fence to sort of emulate that really. And obviously the habitat itself has three main inspirations, which is Paradisa, Chester Zoo, and Northumberland Zoo. And I hope that I've managed to sort of achieve that emulation to the best of my ability. But yeah, this is a habitat that I will be coming back to in the future to revamp, rejuvenate, redo, essentially. And so here I'm building the indoor sort of viewing in the indoor shelter for the snow leopards, and this is very much sort of inspired off Northumberland Zoo and Chester Zoo, because they've got indoor viewing for their snow leopards, and it's in like a cave sort of environment, and I think it works really well, so I go ahead and do that. But what can I tell you about snow leopards? So they're known throughout the world for their elusive behaviour and their beautiful fur, but they're extremely rare. They're endangered, but they're so secretive that they're very rarely seen. And are they endangered or they're vulnerable? I forget. They're vulnerable, but they're perfectly adapted to their cold, barren sort of landscape in the Himalayas, which is where they're found. However, human threat, as is so often the case, has created a very uncertain future for these animals, and despite covering a range of more than 2 million square kilometres, there are only between 3,000 and 6,000 snow leopards left in the wild. So snow leopards are solitary, usually, and they're highly elusive. They're most active at dusk and dawn. They have home ranges of up to 1,000 square kilometres. Females raise their cubs for about a year and a half, entirely alone. And they prefer and are found in arid, barren, sort of cold, dry mountain areas. But they're actually pretty gentle, so snow leopards are not known to be aggressive towards humans, which is actually quite interesting because one of the main threats to snow leopards is human-wildlife conflict. So, where once again the issue, as is so often the case. And the cat's main prey are ibex, argali, blue sheep, ox, yak, things like that. And they're really sort of small animals. You know, having now seen them in person, I'm surprised at how small they actually are. So, definitely another reason to come back and redo these habitats. So the habitat itself is sort of very rocky, and there's a couple of different colours and textures of rock in there, which is exactly what I wanted to go for. And there's very, very little planting, but there is planting in there, and I have included trees just because I feel it was appropriate to do so. I may remove the trees when I redo this habitat. We shall see. But because it's not a netted in enclosure, I did feel that having trees was sort of okay, as long as they're not too close to the fence so they can jump out. But yeah, they're known as the ghost of the mountain. They're so elusive and so well camouflaged that very rarely are they seen in their natural habitat. They're also highly adapted to living in the cold and high altitude by having really thick fur and really long fluffy tails that helps them to keep warm. And they also have like really big fluffy paws that act as snowshoes. And for cats, they actually have quite small ears, and this is to prevent heat loss, which I found really interesting. And a snow leopard's main call is not a roar like a tiger or a lion, but it's usually a puffing sound called a chuff. Tigers do chuff as well. And females do have a very loud sort of yowl, but they'll only do this to attract males when they're ready to breed. And snow leopards look after their young for about 21 months, so 18 to 21 months, and that's longer than any other big cat. And scientists currently think that this is due to the harsh environment. The cubs need more time to become independent, and the cubs are ready to start hunting with their mother when they're 3 months old, which is absolutely bizarre because you can't imagine a 3-month-old human going to the shops, you know, picking out crisps and stuff. But yet a 3-month-old snow leopard can go hunting with its mum. I think that's great. But numbers are continuing to decrease for these wonderful animals, unfortunately. The biggest threats are human interference with things like hunting, mining, and then also climate change. Climate change puts their habitat at risk, which in turn puts them at risk. And so it's super important that we have a species, what the hell am I on about? It's super important that we have a captive population, not just to ensure that there are still animals that are able to be returned to the wild when it is suitable to do so, but also to act as ambassadors for their species, to sort of say, this is what's going on in my home, how can you help? And poaching, unfortunately, and the illegal trade of its skin and body parts is still a major issue, and the major sort of trade centre for this is Kashgar in Xinjiang. In Tibet and Mongolia, the skins are still believed to have sort of medicinal properties. They also use them as dresses, and they also use them to cure kidney problems, Bones are used for treating rheumatism and injuries and the pain of human bones and tendons. Of course, all of this is absolutely nonsense, because there's no way that snow leopard skin and bones can cure rheumatoid arthritis or kidney problems or things like that. It's inconceivable. It's just cruel and inhumane. And unfortunately, this is still going on today. And the most recent one that I could find was in September 2014, so 10 years ago. 9 snow leopard skins were found during a survey of a market in Afghanistan. Now, it doesn't just stop there, because further human-wildlife conflict is because the snow leopards prey on domestic livestock, so yak and things like that. And the loss of natural prey due to overgrazing by livestock, poaching and the defence of livestock are now major drivers for the decreasing snow leopard population. Livestock also causes habitat degradation, which also increases the use of forests for fuel and further reduces the snow leopard's habitat. And this driving factor of using habitat for fuel links in with greenhouse gases, have caused a shift in the tree line in the Himalayas and the shrinking of what's known as the alpine zone, which has reduced the snow leopard's habitat by an estimated 30% and will likely continue to reduce it by another 30%. Now, snow leopards are kept sort of fairly frequently in captivity. Moscow Zoo has exhibited the first captive snow leopards in the world, and the Bronx Zoo was the first zoo to exhibit a snow leopard in North America. The first captive bred snow leopard cubs were in Beijing Zoo, and that was only in the 1990s that the first captive bred snow leopards were sort of born, so it's still relatively recent. And even by the late 80s, sort of 1986, 1987, zoos in America, 234 of them had snow leopards. I am aware of, I think, 3 in the UK, maybe 4. So Chester Zoo has them, Highlands Wildlife Park has them, I think the Big Cat Sanctuary has them, and maybe Welsh Mountain Zoo, maybe. There's probably others, but they're just the ones that I'm aware of. So that's the snow leopards. So in terms of the habitat then, what we're looking at here is I'm building a covered viewing area, just to sort of avoid any glare as much as possible on the glass for the snow leopards. But doing so is proving particularly difficult because it's got to sort of run parallel with the glass, and the glass isn't on a straight line, it has that weird bend in it. So this tunnel has to have a bend in it as well, and it's very difficult. But I still wanted it to remain light and airy, so we've put this wooden slatting in, and I think it works out alright, if I may say so myself. We do change the colours and stuff, don't worry. But this footage, actually, I did think it was lost. It did show up as corrupted initially, and I was ready to sort of throw the towel in. I sort of did throw the towel in. I'd already said in the next part that you're about to see that the footage was lost, it's corrupted, I do apologise. But no, the next day when I logged in, it was fine, it was back. So just a weird little glitch in the system. So I use something I've not used before here, which is this New World mural. Just like a nice flat fence panel. It's flexi colour, so change that up. So the reason I keep stopping during these feed builds is part of it's my phone, and the other part of it is I keep looking at reference images and things like that, and just changing music what I'm listening to. And then I decided to just bring this path out a bit further and make sure it's not poking out. It's all about the details, the little bits. Yeah, and then we just go ahead and do that. Take it up to there, line it up. And just checking everything looks okay. And then we need to block this gap up. Which I do with some great difficulty. And then we should be cutting back to the live section, I think. Maybe not. No, not yet. So yeah, that's about it really. It's very difficult, this build actually, and some of the other builds coming up will probably be equally as difficult because I don't get a lot of time anymore to spend on Planet Zoo. I do keep banging on about it, I'm aware of that. But you know, builds used to take me like days on end, which was fine because I could spend just days on end. But this one, it's been like 2 months. This full process, like starting the habitat all the way up to when you're watching this video, it will be about 2 months, which is just a ridiculous amount of time. Which is why I think the next video on the channel will be East Lake. It's just easier and quicker to make those. Quicker, actually, not so much easier, but quicker. And then the next Dunswell Zoo one will be the Yusuri Dole, whenever that's going to be. But we'll see, we'll find out. So just putting this fence in so that the snow leopards still can't escape, which is of course super important. It's a nice high fence because snow leopards are really good jumpers, and you also don't want them to be able to jump over the fence and escape that way. I had a sentence form in there and I abandoned it partway through. The really high fence, you don't want them climbing out, you don't want them jumping out. Yeah, that's about it essentially. Yeah, it's a bit messy, the fence, but you don't really pay much attention to it when you're on the ground level. There's just a few spots where it looks a bit weird, but I've already decided at this point that I'll be coming back and redoing the habitat, so we'll do that at some point. When I'm out of fresh ideas, we'll come back and revamp this habitat. But it'll do for now, definitely. And, you know, we haven't got anything else realistically to put in place of this. You know, the Palace Cat mod. It's not been updated for a while. We haven't got an official Palace's Cat. So I'm quite happy to just keep this as big as it is at the minute. But definitely the landscaping in this habitat needs changing. I liked this idea of like a central mountain in this habitat, but having seen the finished product, I'm no longer a fan. I will say at some point that I am a fan, and then at the last live section I will then again say that I am not a fan, and I'm not. I prefer the other habitat that I built, to be honest, but even that's too big. But I underestimated how small the snow leopards were. Putting the enrichment in, and then I put some rocks down at the front, make the terrain a bit more uneven, and then we also put some sort of rock cladding on the outside here to sort of stop people from looking in and stressing the snow leopards out, which is something I was very surprised that Chester haven't done actually. On the path towards the snow leopards you can actually see straight into their habitat, so I was very surprised that they didn't put some sort of screening up. But oh well. So here we're just putting some toilets in, just because, you know, the last toilets were right at the start of the entrance area, and guests will need to use the toilet. Initially I was going to build my own, and then I thought, well, you know, the in-game blueprint's not too bad, I'll just modify it a little bit. Which is exactly what I do here. Just make sure I'm using the same materials. Make sure it lines up as seamlessly as possible. This was a tricky one. You know, in reality it wouldn't work, but it's Planet Zoo, so we can get away with it. And the guests essentially have to walk through a wooden, a stone beam to get to the toilets. I've gone for these doors. I was going to colour code them, but I thought we're a bit beyond the age now where blue is boy and pink is girl, so we just use the in-game toilet sign. I do go back and edit this building a bit as well. We had a keeper hut behind it. We're just sort of beautifying the area up a little bit here. Well, I thought we'd take a nice little sort of stop gap thing, if you like, a little break. And I'll just show you what I've done so far, and then sort of what's coming up next. It has been a long time since I've returned to this build. So it was a month since the last episode when I started this. It's now a month and a half since the last episode. And unfortunately, some of the footage from this episode did get corrupted. That's why I thought I'd stop and just show you sort of where we're at the moment. The Barnyard Animal Pack came out the other day, so that sort of tells you roughly when I'm recording this. And so we have our first sort of glimpse of the snow leopard habitat here. So this would be a very first opportunity to see the snow leopards. It's a nice tall fence to stop them from escaping. And then there's lots of sort of rocks to limit the sort of A, the sound, and B, the guests seeing the snow leopards. There are some bits of the fence that I'm not happy with, like that, this bit here, and then sort of this bit here. But you're not going to be looking at the fence much, to be fair, so I'm not too bothered about that. This is the bit of the footage that got corrupted, so building this little tunnel into the indoor viewing, and then the toilets as well. The sound was all there, but the visual footage was not. It was just a black screen. So we'll start with this. So you've got your first proper view of one of the snow leopard habitats. There's two, and it's not finished yet, so it still needs a bit more rock work. It's still a bit too flat for my liking. It needs a bit more undulation. But then you get sort of a quick glimpse of a forest and the back of the toilets. And then you've got the indoor area for the snow leopards. So how it works is like so. So it's two separate habitats, but then back here I'll build a tunnel which will allow the two habitats to connect. So we've got an off-show area, which is this area here, and then we've got our on-show area, which is of course this area here. I'm somewhat tempted to put rocks in the rest of it, but then oops, this has gone drastically wrong. But yeah, then essentially we've got the same on the other side to do. So I've got the indoor on-show area to make it look all pretty, and then I've got another tunnel with some viewing to put in. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera, because you've seen me put the fence in on this habitat. And as for the tunnel, it's a fairly simple sort of construction. It's just about getting the angles right so that it matches the glass viewing windows. But yeah, I'm relatively happy with how this looks, to be fair. It just needs a bit more rock work in it, a bit more terrain undulation so it's a bit less flat. And then we should be ready for some snow leopards. That's mildly annoying, but not to worry. Yeah, and then it just needs the finishing touches, like some education, maybe some benches, stuff like that. But yeah, I'll probably do the rest of that off camera. I'll maybe do the habitat part on camera in terms of like the terrain and the rock work and stuff like that. But the rest of it I'll probably do off camera. So as far as the barnyard pack's concerned, we might use some of the pieces in Dunswell Zoo. We will not be using any of the animals in Dunswell Zoo. But for Eastlake, the barnyard pack is very well timed, because I think that's a good place to actually get our first themed area in Eastlake. Do a barnyard area, get all those animals in, and we can start sort of fleshing things out from there. I think that's going to be a good starting point. So yeah, I will see you all either in the next bit of the speed build or when it's finished. So I shall see you all soon. So we're now on that second snow leopard habitat, and this is the one that I ended up preferring. So I'll put some climbing enrichment in. Just because of the size of the climbing enrichment and the size of the habitat, there's actually only one that we could fit in. So put the enrichment in, sculpt the terrain a little bit. And then I wanted like a hill at the back, which I then sort of turned into like a cave, which I'm really pleased with, and the snow leopards can actually use it as well, which I'm really happy about. Again, trying to keep it minimal on the trees here, just feasibly. You wouldn't want anything that the snow leopards could climb and jump out of the habitat and things like that, and they wouldn't come across that many trees in their native range. They do come across them, just not that often. Unfortunately, the habitat just looks really barren without them, which I know they like, but definitely I think when I redo these two habitats I will remove the trees, maybe just keep one or two, and everything else will just be a couple of low-lying sort of shrubs and bushes, some dead sort of branches, things like that. But we'll see. We've got plenty more to do before I get to the point where I'm like, okay, let's go back and do the snow leopard habitat now. We've got the rest of the Himalayan heights to finish, which is the Ussuri dhole and the Himalayan brown bear. Then we've got the cod to add to Adventure Andes. Then we've got penguins of Patagonia to build, and then we've got the Atlantic forest of the South American section, which between Penguins of Patagonia and the Atlantic forest will actually finish our South American animals. We've got some more to sort of add to other zones that have already been built. We've got the Huemel to add to Adventure Andes as well as the cod, and we've got some other animals what I'm waiting for mods for or official releases to add them to Adventure Andes and Pantanal Paradise and Peruvian Prairie and Expedition Ecuador. But yeah, as far as new sort of builds are concerned, it's the rest of Himalayan heights and then Penguins of Patagonia and the Atlantic forest. Well, there we are. That is the speed build done. Let me just adjust the microphone a little bit, actually. It's a bit high up. That's a bit better. There we go. Right. So we're done with the speed build, and as far as the habitats are concerned, they're more or less sort of done. So we've got the female in this one here, and we've got the male in the other one. So I've sort of done a little bit of decorating as well, just spruce the area up a little bit. And we've got the snow leopards here. And then we've got this sort of like Himalayan-ish style bunting. I'm going to change the colours of these, I think, to sort of like purples and slightly softer colours. We've of course got a sign for the snow leopards. And then just here we've got the toilets and some little seating areas. Unfortunately, I can't get the path to sort of connect these, so they're not actually usable. We can definitely put some more planting back here. And then just from the back here, I've actually managed to sneak in a little keeper hut. So yeah, we're cracking in that regard. So we'll go ahead and begin our tour. I've not done cinematics because not everything is finished. I'm not completely happy with everything. So we're just going to do a sort of guest perspective tour, essentially. So we've got this snow leopard pattern on the left here. And then I need something else to put on that wooden panel. And then in here, there we go. That's our little female snow leopard. So I'm not too happy with this habitat, in all honesty. I will probably redo it. I prefer the other one that I've done. So I might go ahead and do that one. Do this one like I've done that one. But we can, of course, head in. And we don't have any snow leopard sort of stuff. So this is a tiger, I think, or a lion. And then we've got the indoor sort of viewing for the snow leopards. And they can't use this bed, unfortunately. So, and I don't know why he's just dropping the food sort of there rather than going out and doing it. But okay. So she's heading back outside, so we'll go have a look. Where is she? There she is, right in front of us. So yeah, snow leopards are a lot smaller than I thought they were, to be honest. So they're completely dwarfed in this habitat. So this habitat could have been significantly smaller. But I've done a better job with the other habitat. So let's go have a look at that one. Then in here, I just need to pop this out a little bit. Because we've got a little bit of Z fight in there. Is that okay? That's better, there we go. So we've got our snow leopard sort of education. We've got 2 benches. There's going to be some more sort of information and education on this blank screen. I just need the time to create that. And of course you've got your indoor viewing like we were looking at earlier. And then a bit more education there. So this one is traditional medicine. And the other one is climate change, I believe, or global warming. Climate change, yeah. Both of these things affect snow leopards. And this is the other one. Again, unfortunately, they can't use the rock sort of bed thing up there. So I might need to change that. But let's go have a look at the new snow leopard habitat. So we've got a little talk point here, which was super important because we need to educate our guests about snow leopards. And then if we have a look, this is the finished second snow leopard habitat. And there you can see the male in the background, just climbing up onto that perch point. There's actually a little cave hidden in there. What they can actually access, stuff like that. They can access all of this, what you can see as well. And I will sort of show you the traversable area actually. And then I've got this area down here. And then you of course exit. And I've still got to decorate sort of all this. But I've put one of the new trees in from the barnyard animal pack, and it really sort of fits in this area. And that's the snow leopards, essentially. There is a little bit more to show, of course, so we'll go ahead and get showing that. There's our male. So our male snow leopard is called Charlie. And I just called him Charlie because I just felt like calling him Charlie. And our female snow leopard is called Maxine. And she's called Maxine after the manager, if you want to call it that. The founder, the manager of Northumberland Zoo, who is called Maxine Bradley. And they've got 2 snow leopard sisters at Northumberland Zoo. So I figured it was only appropriate that we call the female snow leopard Maxine after her. Again, I underestimated how small snow leopards really were, so they're completely dwarfed in this habitat, unfortunately. I might actually come back at some point in the future and completely redo the snow leopard habitats, make them much smaller and actually look decent. Just massive. Having said that, they need about 700 meters squared, and this habitat that the male's in is 1,200, so it is more than they need, but not an awful lot. So yeah, let's get out of guest view and let's go have a look at what we can sort of see in terms of what the guests can't see. So the first thing I would probably point out is the roof is planted. It's got solar panels and there are windows in the roof, or skylights rather, and it's just to make better use of this space. And of course a nice green roof will keep the building nice and insulated. Keep it cool in the spring and the summer, and warm in the winter. Not that the snow leopards particularly need it to be warm. They're quite happy to be in the cool and the cold. And then, yeah, this habitat I'm not overly happy with. It is massive for the size of the animal. But then again, you think we've got the female in here, then if she has cubs, we need room for them as well. Ah, look at that. She's sleeping right down here. So yeah, we can sort of see the traversable area that Maxine has to work with. And yeah, she's got more than double the amount of space that she needs, but that's because we're going to potentially be having cubs in here as well. But yeah, I'll probably redo this habitat because I'm not happy with this side at all, quite frankly. This side I am more happy with. It is slightly more scale appropriate, that should be rather. But even then, it's still massive. Can we even find the snow leopard? Where's Charlie? There's Charlie. Charlie's in the back. So yeah, you can see 1,247, and so he can access the bed up here, but then outside, the traversable area is much more sort of appropriate. This is exactly what I wanted. And there's this little cave that I built in as well, and they can access this. Wonderful. So yeah, that's the snow leopard habitat, my friends. Sorry it's taken so long. I've just been incredibly busy with work and life in general. So thank you very much for sticking with me, and thank you for watching. The next episode of Dunswell Zoo, I don't know when it will be, but it will probably be the Ussuri Dole. But I don't know when it will be. The next episode on the channel will be Eastlake, and we're going to make use of that barnyard animal pack. That is all I will say in regards to that. So thank you very much for watching, my friends. Please remember to like the video if you have indeed liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support me and see more of this sort of content. And yeah, just stay safe, stay kind. Thank you for sticking with me. And I will see you all in the next video. Whether that's going to be Dunswell Zoo or Eastlake, I'll see you whenever I see you. Thank you very much for watching, my friends. Stay safe, stay kind. You can find me on Instagram at JW_YT. You can also find my wildlife photography on Instagram at JW_wildlife photography. And I shall see you all in that next episode, whenever that's going to be, that next video. Until then, my friends, thank you for watching, and bye-bye for now.